Which fasting length is right for you? 4, 16, 24, 36? Hey guys, welcome back to the Obesity Project. Today, episode 23. Which fasting length is right for you? 4, 16, 24, 36? These are all going to be explained in the episode ahead. So thank you so much for joining me. My name is Dr. Mark Shankman. I'm an oral and maxillofacial surgeon that took on this obesity project because I felt the need to inform people, to educate people, and to let everyone know that I think the medical profession in general gets it all wrong, and we need to do something to change that narrative. So not all fasts are created equal. Some burn fat, some reset hormones, and some actually do both. So wondering if you should do a 12-hour fast, 24-hour fast, or even longer extended fasts? Let's break down the science of different fasting lengths so that you can choose what works best for you. So fasting isn't a one-size-fits-all thing. It's not something that is going to work the same for everybody in every situation. So the right fasting length really depends on your goals. It depends on whether you're trying to lose fat or weight loss, whether you're trying to correct or reverse insulin resistance, whether you're trying to get into autophagy and have your body recycle itself and renew itself. All of these things make a difference when you're trying to pick fasting length. So think of fasting like medicine, where different doses are used for different conditions. So we mentioned yesterday how fasting works sort of hour by hour, but now let's talk about fasting types by hour and what happens in those fasts and why it matters. So we're going to begin with, let me see if I can do this, boop, right there, the 12-hour fast. This is sort of a light form of time-restricted eating. So what is this best for? 12-hour fasts are really best for beginners and to achieve just general metabolic health. So some of the benefits of a 12-hour fast, it does give your digestive system a break. So we were built to have periods of being fed and periods where we were fasting. And fasting really just means not being fed. It's not like you're necessarily having to make a conscious decision, but even an 8-hour sleeping period is a fast of some sort, right? It doesn't have to be a conscious decision. But some of the other benefits, it helps stabilize blood sugar. And there are certainly some limitations to a 12-hour fast. Well, first, you get minimal fat burning. So you're not going to get a ton of fat burning in a 12-hour fast, and you're going to get little to no autophagy. So you want to use this fast as a transition into the longer fasting periods. So probably one of the most common, one of the best respected intermittent fasting cycles or schedules is a 16-8, and that you can see there. So the 16-8 means that you're fasting for 16 hours and your eating window is basically in that 8-hour window. So this is absolutely best for weight loss and to improve insulin sensitivity. So some of the benefits, you get sort of a moderate fat burning. You're going to certainly get extreme fat burning in some of the longer ones, but in a 16-hour window, you're definitely going to get some pretty nice fat burning. You're going to definitely reduce those insulin levels down. And this is really where fasting is most beneficial, is it really gives the opportunity for your insulin levels to drop even in a insulin resistant state. It does work well with low carb and sort of keto diets. And so those are the benefits. Some of the limitations, it may not be long enough to reverse advanced insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. As I mentioned before, this is the most popular format. It is, and here's why it's actually the most popular, because it's really easy to fit into everyday life. Doing an 8-hour eating window is pretty simple, pretty easy. It really doesn't take a lot. You can skip any meal. You don't have to skip any one particular meal. But to get the 16-hour window, it's really the easiest method is to have dinner at a certain reasonable time, somewhere between like 5 and 6 p.m., and then don't eat after dinner, sleep the night, and then basically just push back breakfast till, 10, 11, 12 o'clock, depending on when you ate dinner. So it's, the easiest meal to sort of push away and to increase the fasting window is certainly breakfast. But you can certainly skip dinner and have breakfast and lunch. You're basically cutting back to 2 meals a day. That's primarily how it works. So let's get into the next one, and that you can see down here. That's the 24, or what some people call the warrior diet. And this is definitely best for deeper fat loss. So if you're trying to really burn off those pounds, the warrior diet, or the 24, 20 comma 4, is definitely the best, or not the best, but definitely a better option than the previous ones. And this is really good for breaking weight plateaus. I actually found this in my own journey. I routinely did either a 16:8 or an 18:6. That was kind of really more where I was. I was eating my lunch at noon, and I was pretty much done with dinner by 6. And so, it gave me a 16-hour, but, some days I might have pushed it out till, I didn't start eating till 6 and done it like 6:30, quarter to 7. So, I range somewhere between the 16:8 and the 18:6 for the most part. But I found even on that cycle that I did see periods where I sort of plateaued in terms of my weight loss journey. So there are times where we need to extend to sort of break through those barriers and break that weight loss plateau. So some of the benefits of uh, the 20 comma 4, or the 20 hours fasted, 4 hours of fed warrior diet, are prolonged low insulin, which is what allows for the better fat mobilization that we see with this diet. And here's a big difference as we start to get into some of these longer ones. We get increased growth hormone and more metabolic flexibility. So as I mentioned in yesterday's video, we're basically our bodies are hybrid engines. We are very good at burning sugar and fat, and we're supposed to be able to flip in between pretty easily and pretty flexibly. But through the course of the standard American diet over years and years and years, sometimes our bodies sort of lose the ability to flip gears and switch from sugar burning to fat burning. And this one really allows for increased flexibility and sort of retrain your body to burn that fat instead of sugar for fuel. Some of the limitations, it's certainly harder to maintain socially if you're only eating in a 4 hour window. That can be a little bit challenging sometimes. And, the social aspects of meals and eating are what definitely make intermittent fasting difficult. It's actually not hunger. Everybody thinks that hunger is sort of a limiting factor in terms of how far you can go. But the hunger fades, the hunger goes away. And really, the harder aspect of intermittent fasting is really maintaining a social schedule and, dealing with family, dealing with friends, going out to dinner, things like that makes it a little bit more difficult. And certainly a 4 hour window of eating can be a challenge. And it may require some adaptation time. It may be one of those things that you have to kind of ease into and let your body sort of adapt to the changes. So it's really best used occasionally or during fat loss sprints. So where you're really trying to lose weight in a very fast period of time, or you're trying to break through those plateaus. Now, the next one we've got is the 24-hour fast. This is also known as 1 meal a day, or OMAD, OMAD, 1 meal a day. And let me see if I go this way. Nope, let's go this way. You can see OMAD behind me. And so this is essentially a 24-hour fast, technically kind of a 23-hour fast, because, if you eat at 6 p.m. one night and you eat at 6 p.m. the other night, well, that is a 24-hour fast, but sometimes it can be 23 and a half, sometimes it can be 24 and a half, but basically you're eating that 1 meal a day. So this is best for really helping to reverse more serious insulin resistance and really to crush through those weight stalls. Some of the benefits are you get a deeper level of autophagy. Autophagy generally, it is a range and everybody differs, but usually happens somewhere between 16 and 24. So if you're doing a 24-hour fast, you're going to get a deeper level of autophagy, or you're actually going to get into autophagy if you weren't able to get in at the 16 or even the 20-hour mark. You get improved blood sugar and insulin control. So essentially, you become more insulin sensitive. And it does boost mitochondrial function. And mitochondria are the energy, sort of battery packs of the cell. This is where we generate all the energy that our bodies require. And of course, using either sugar or fat in the mitochondria to generate that energy. But fasting for 24 hours will boost the mitochondrial function and really improve the efficiency and efficacy of those mitochondria in producing energy. Some of the limitations, it can cause some fatigue in beginners, and definitely something you want to think about. Adding maybe some electrolytes in. If you're doing a water fast for 24 hours, electrolytes can definitely help with the fatigue, but you may experience some fatigue even with the electrolytes if you're new to fasting. And I don't necessarily recommend starting off with the one meal a day. Easier way into it. Start with the 12, work your way up. Eventually, you get to that 24-hour fast, and then you can stay in it for a while if you want. Great for once or twice a week. And especially if you have type 2 diabetes, this is going to make a real impact and make a real difference. Now we start to get into some of the extended fasts. So now we're talking about a 36 to 42-hour fast, which is sort of alternate day fasting. So basically, you're eating one day, fasting another, and maybe you hold off on the meal the next day till noon or 12 hours in. So 36 to 42-hour fast. This is best for rapid fat loss. You're going to definitely see a big drop off, and your body is almost exclusively at that point using your own body's fat stores to generate energy. And so that's, of course, going to create the most rapid amount of fat loss. And it's extremely effective in reversing type 2 diabetes. So some of the benefits, you can see a significant insulin drop. And of course, the more insulin drops, the more we get into a fat burning mode. If insulin levels are very high, you're never going to be able to burn fat because the hormone insulin triggers the body or tells the body, instructs the body or directs the body to store energy, not burn it. So we start to see very significant insulin drops with the lack of food over a 36 to 42 hour period. So we get much, much greater elevated levels of autophagy. And now we're really starting to chew up some of the old, sort of non-functioning or non-efficient cells. We're starting to break down parts of those cells that need to be cleaned up and regenerated. So we break those proteins down, we create the amino acids to then be able to turn around and rebuild stronger, better, faster. The old $6 million man reference. So this also is great at reducing liver fat and blood glucose. And then some of the limitations, it does require electrolytes. You really shouldn't just do a simple water fast for this period of time. Electrolytes are very important. And it's certainly, of course, not sustainable every single day. So this is highly effective and it should be under some medical supervision, particularly if you have type 2 diabetes or you have other chronic illnesses. And especially if you're on medication for those illnesses. So as I mentioned a little bit yesterday, especially with these longer fasts, though, you're going to find that you're going to get a much greater drop in blood pressure, a much greater drop in blood glucose. And so if you're on medications to lower those things, you want to make sure you don't become hypotensive or low blood pressure. You want to make sure you don't become hypoglycemic or low blood sugar by those medications that normally work kind of here. Now, much more effective because we've dropped those insulin levels and we've dropped the ability to gain sugar from our diet. So now we move into the 3 to 5 day extended fast. Honestly, I've never done one of these before. I probably will try one in the upcoming in the near future. But right now, I have never done any 3 to 5 day extended fast. So this is based on what the books and the literature says. So these are best for advanced metabolic healing, for autophagy, and resetting the weight set point. This is a really important factor because our body wants to hold at a certain set weight. And how do you adjust that? You have to adjust the insulin levels over an extended period of time, and that will bring the weight set point down. And the only way to do that to a significant degree is to get into these extended fasts. So some of the benefits of a 3 to 5 day fast, you can see a massive drop in insulin and in glucose. You can see deep autophagy and stem cell regeneration. So not only are you chewing up all those old non-functional or poorly functioning proteins and organelles and even full cells if they're not functioning properly, but you'll also see stem cell regeneration that allows to rebuild those cells that are being destroyed. So we get some really great stem cell regeneration, which is important for recycling our bodies and renewing them, taking out the trash, so to speak, getting rid of the old and bringing in the new. We can also reverse early stages of disease, such as insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Along with many of the other chronic illnesses, you see dramatic reversals or improvement in mental clarity, in mental health, so anxiety, depression. We can see reversal of autoimmune diseases, skin disorders, lots of chronic illnesses that are all related to insulin resistance. Um, some of the limitations, though, of a 3 to 5 day fast, these are not for beginners. So if you're a beginner, you should not begin here. You should not start with an extended fast. It does require some monitoring, hydration, and electrolytes, and it may lead to muscle loss if not done properly. So if not done properly, muscle is generally spared with the increase in growth hormone. However, if you either don't have enough fat stores on your body, or if you're not maintaining your levels properly, then you can actually start to get into some muscle loss. So obviously, with a 3 to 5 day fast, you're going to use these sparingly. You're also going to want to consult with a health professional. So let's talk about when to use different fasts, different length fasts. So you want to alternate between shorter daily fasts with longer fasts, either weekly or monthly. So from what I've read from the people that I've listened to, some of the experts in fasting, like Dr. Jason Fung and some others, they definitely recommend doing like a 16/8 as a daily or routine thing, and then maybe doing a 24-hour fast maybe once a week, and doing a 3 to 5 day fast maybe quarterly, like once every 3 months or so. Um, so you were going to use those extended fasts for deep healing, not for regular dieting. This is where we really get into the deep healing, that stem cell regeneration. Also, one thing I didn't talk about is you also can get sort of a resetting of your immune system and boosting that immune system. So we can see some really deep healing, not just regular dieting. You want to adjust if you're female, you want to adjust your fasting around your menstrual cycles. So, and also around stress and around training. So, especially for women that are in childbearing years with menstrual cycles, during the menstrual week, you definitely want to avoid fasting. It's not a great idea. You don't want to increase stress at that point in your cycle. And you want to use longer fasts to reset after periods of overconsumption or high carb eating. So if you've fallen off the wagon, let's say you go on a cruise and you've eaten everything in sight, including all the highly processed, highly refined foods, then longer fasts are great to sort of reset and to compensate for that overconsumption of high carbohydrate meals. So some key concepts. Fasting does equal sort of a hormonal reset. It's not about calories, it's about lowering insulin. Insulin is the main driver behind all of this and behind all of these chronic disorders. and insulin resistance, of course. The longer you fast, the more you heal. So, you have to think about that and what your goals are. And every fasting window is a tool that you have in your metabolic toolbox. So you're not going to just do one. You're not just going to always do the same thing. You want to shake it up, you want to break it up, and you want to change things around. Now, I said I've never done a 3 to 5 day fast, but I certainly did 16-8 or 18-6 and alternated I would say once a week I did for the last few weeks before carnivore. I did that 24-hour or OMAD fasting schedule. Once I get full bore into carnivore and really settle into a groove in carnivore, then I definitely plan on building back the intermittent fasting into my schedule. So, some key takeaway points. You don't have to start with the 3 day fast. Start small and build your metabolic flexibility. Give your body a chance to go from sugar burning into fat burning and not cold turkey all at once. Ease into it, let your body adjust naturally. Also, fasting is a natural, free way to reverse insulin resistance, lose weight, and feel better. So, think of how much better this is than getting on drugs to try to reverse things, to lose weight, and all the money that you're going to spend on those pharmaceuticals. This is a much more natural and absolutely free. This costs nothing. And actually, I contend it's actually a savings method, a financially saving, because not only are you not having to pay for dieting, but you're also not having to pay for the food that you would be eating if you were eating it, right? So you actually will save money with a fasting schedule. And you want to mix it up. Your body thrives on variation. We are incredible adaptation machines, so we need to give our bodies, some change in stressors and give the body a chance to adapt and become more fluid and more flexible. And our body thrives on variation. So, what's the longest the longest fast you've ever done? Feel free to drop that in the comments. I'd love to hear about your fasting journey. Also, share this with someone who thinks fasting is dangerous. We need to correct that misconception. You're not going into starvation mode. You're not chewing up your own proteins. You're not going to die from doing this. Everybody can safely fast. Now, there are times where people can't fast, like we talked about yesterday, pregnancy and some of these other things, menstrual cycle week and, some other things. But nobody's going to die from fasting. It is natural, it is healthy, and it can be extremely beneficial. And follow me for the next episode in the Obesity Project, where we're really just getting started. I'm, 23 episodes in, but only been doing this for a short period of time, and we're going to get to a lot more things in the future. We're going to talk about a lot more things regarding diet and things like seed oils and vegetable oils and stuff like that. So we're going to get into all of that coming up in the next few weeks. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate your attention. Hope you learned a little something, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.